So, very good afternoon to all of you. So, this is Divya, and this is the first class of this particular batch in this new year. I'm so excited to welcome each one of you. May this year bring us a lot of happiness, abundance, and learning towards whatever knowledge that we are actually gaining. So, thank you very much for being a part and joining us on time. So, my name is Divya Madhukar, and I would be your course coordinator throughout the entire academic session. So today we have with us Amina, Lipika, Prasanna, Anita, Leena, Raghavi, Sangeeta, Nisha, Lakshmi, Shika, Lavanya. If any of you, if I have missed, I'm really sorry. So that's Swarna, who's actually joining us right now. Thank you guys for being there.
Niveta,
Pardon?
Niveta?
Niveta, I think, okay, I couldn't see you, Nivi, because you have offed your video, right? So I can see only students who have actually been there. So welcome, Nivi. Thank you, guys. Thank
No,
you.
ma'am, she's not there.
Niveta is not there.
She's not there.
Okay.
Yeah, not there.
No worries. Maybe they would join in a little late. Okay, so we'll get started with our today's session. So today's what we would be starting is one of the practical exercises. So if you have gone through your index sheet, okay, so there are 5 practicals that you will be starting. In that, the first practical is called EPL. What does EPL stands for? Exercises of practical life. Okay. So in our day-to-day life, we would be working with certain exercises which are very simple for our students to understand. So that would be the first thing that we would be actually seeing in Dr. Montessori's classes. So for all the students, if you are unaware about Dr. Montessori, so we would be covering a lot of exercises on Dr. Montessori. And she's an Italian woman who actually started with this kind of an education. And we have a systematic way that we will be taking these lessons into it. So what we have done, the entire curriculum of our course, we have divided the curriculum into 3 parts. We have our theory, we have our practicals, and we have our module work. Okay. So in theory, you have 8 subjects. Okay. So to begin with, what are the 8 subjects? We start with life history of Dr. Montessori, correct? That will be the first one. If you would have seen the messages, whatever I would have sent it, the first thing that we would be looking into could be the life history of Dr. Montessori. If you're not sure about this particular subjects, let me quickly share that thing with all of you. So this is the one. Can everybody see? Yeah. So these are the 8 chapters that we would be looking into. Okay. So the first 8 chapters would be our theory. We would not be taking up a 100-mark paper. Rather, we are taking a 50-mark paper. This is one of the changes that we got to know. So all our 8 chapters, starting from life history of Dr. Montessori, introduction to Montessori methods, exercises of practical life, early childhood education, language in childhood, Montessori school administration, methods of teaching, reading and writing, and education of senses. So all these would be my 8 papers, which we would be taking it up for 50 marks. It's a theory, it's a written paper. Students who have opted for online, you will write everything online. Students who have opted for offline, you can write offline or even you can opt online because the exam would be post 2:30 only. There is a choice. Coming down to our practicals, we are in the paper, we would be covering 4, but in the lessons that we are learning in our day-to-day classes, we would do 5. So first one is our practical life, that is EPL. This is what we are starting today. Okay, so we are starting with EPL, exercises of practical life. Second practical exercises is sensorial. The third one is math. Fourth is language. And the fifth one is called cultural. Cultural means EVS topics. Okay. Now here we are not doing a 20-mark paper. Rather, we are doing a 100-mark paper. Okay. We are cutting down on the theory and we are doing a little bit more on practicals. Why? Because we are towards multisensory approach where the children needs to learn everything through hands-on exercises. So we are opting for a 100-mark paper. Each institute of IMTTI can either take a 100-mark theory or a 20-mark practical, but We here from Bangalore centers and all our 3 centers, we are opting for a 50-mark theory and a 100-mark practical exam. Got it? Now coming down to the other one, like your album work. Correct? So we have completed how many here? By total, we get around 400 marks from our theory, 400 marks from our practicals. Then we get our 100 marks from our album. Okay? So here, we are not doing these albums at all. Sorry. We are not doing these albums. Instead of albums, we would do record writing. This is what is a lesson planning that we were doing. So you will submit your work. And for each of your work submission, you get a bona fide certificate. Only album that we're going to do is our art and craft album. Why? Because that's the only thing that is going to be different. So submission dates always before a week of your examination or latest by the examination day. So that will carry your 100 marks. Your Viva would not be 20. The Viva is going to be our 100-mark paper. Clear, everyone, on this particular note? So we're going to start with what for today? We're going to start with our first exercise, that's practical life or exercises of practical life. Okay, to all the newcomers, Hema, Raghavi, Nisha, yes, all of you? Okay. So we are going to start with that. Okay. So let's quickly begin with our sessions and you can keep a note. This is your EPL workbook itself. Make a fair amount of notes. It's going to be helping for all of you to note down the topics that we're going to be working. Now, before we get started with EPL, the first thing that we have to be understanding is what is the purpose of EPL exercises, or what is the introduction to my exercises of practical life, which is not there in our books. We're going to cover that first. All right. Okay. The first topic for our today's day is introduction to EPL. What is EPL? Exercises of practical life. Now, she is Dr. Maria Montessori. She believed that our intelligence, that is our intellectual knowledge, is more only when we are being introduced to the world around us through our senses. Agree? If I have to experience cold, I have to go outside, stand in the weather, which could be slightly colder. Only then I would be able to feel the weather. Agree or not? So this is what Dr. Montessori also said. She said that, children will be able to gain enough intellectual knowledge only when they have been introduced to the world, when the child experiences with all their senses. Now, what happens then? They start to absorb the knowledge. They get to understand, oh, the weather is so cold, then I have to keep myself warm. I can actually rub my palms, or I can wear a warm clothing, another thing. So where did the children get all this knowledge? Only because they were in the world and they were getting the knowledge to absorb all of that. So what do you mean by through sensorial? I see, I hear, I touch, I smell, I taste. So when children are exposed to all our senses, that's how the information will be stimulated for a child's development and creativity. It's not only for children, even for us as adults, we definitely need this. Agree? Now let's understand what is practical life. To keep it very simple to all of you, practical means basic. Very, very basic. It has to be useful also for me, and it should also be purposeful. So throughout this entire section of practical, we would be working with simple exercises which are very basic, that we are doing it in our day-to-day life, which are very useful for all of us. And at the same time, the exercises are really purposeful. It is adding a purpose to my life. For example, brushing the teeth. It's a basic exercise. Yes or no? It's a basic exercise. Is it useful?
Yes.
Ask a question for yourself. Is it useful? Yes, it is useful. Is it purposeful?
Yes.
Yes. So what are the advantages that you will be getting through brushing your teeth? Your oral hygiene is going to be better, right? Your dental, your teeth are going to stay really healthy. And you will not have odor when you're trying to speak. So there are different advantages also. So just like that, I picked a very simple exercise, but we have to map it to all these 3 important things. Ask yourself, is it basic? Is it useful? Is it purposeful? If it is not, maybe then I'll not put it into practicality, right? If somebody asks me, like, you have to go to gym every day, is it useful for me? Yes. Is it purposeful? Yes. But is it a basic thing for everybody? No. I can sit and exercise at my home. But if somebody asks me, go to the gym, then it becomes not very basic for me. This is something that I have to leverage my own skills, or I have to travel and then move across. But in practical life skills, we are going to be helping the child to perform simple exercises or the activities which is going to make him independent. The child will become independent, and the child would have seen these exercise in their day-to-day life. Okay, that is what it's going to be there. Now comes the next important part. This practical, that is this EPL, I would still be subdividing them into 4 more parts. Okay, the first part, please note down, it's called the preliminary applications. What are preliminary applications? Can somebody tell me what is preliminary? What is preliminary? What is preliminary? Anything that I learn through my simple movements?
Basic ones.
Very basic ones. Now say, suppose in case if I have to sit on the floor, what is a basic thing? I sit on the floor. But if somebody tells me you have to sit on the mat, so my basic skill is like I need to know how to carry a mat, how to unroll a mat, how to sit on that particular mat, right? So that becomes my basics. So all the exercises where the child learns the basic movements of all the societies that we are going to be using with, could be pouring, folding, carrying, setting, eating, all of that are going to be my preliminary exercises or preliminary application. The second one is going to be the applied exercises. Now, what happens here? Applied, you have to use a lot of practice to perform these exercises. That means you have built a house. What if you don't maintain the house?
It will
The house will
dirty.
become more dirty, right? It would become all dustier. So applied applications are the ones, whatever the child has learned in the basic movements, you're going to now care for it. You're going to maintain those movements, which is going to help the child for their day-to-day life. Agree? Now say, suppose you have washed your hand in the morning when you are taking a bath. But what if you sneezed? You're going to do a little bit more. And you say, okay, when you sneeze, when you cough, when you touch some dirt, you have to again go wash your hands. So it's like, you're caring for your own self. And at the same time, you're trying to maintain the quality of hygiene. Okay, this is what we are going to be working in applied exercises. Are there any such exercises like washing the hands, taking care of the environment, taking care of a person? All these things will come in applied applications. Okay, so applied applications, I will be subdividing again. Please write down applied applications. I'll have 2 more parts. One is care of a person, care of an environment. You have to take care of yourself and your surroundings. As simple as that. Now, the third one in practical life is grace and courtesy. Very, very important for all of us in this particular situation or in the social circumstances. Grace and courtesy is important. So what is grace and courtesy? Can somebody tell me? What do you mean? What according to you is grace and courtesy?
Being polite.
Being polite.
Politely.
Yeah.
Respect.
Respecting others. See how beautiful it is, right?
Acknowledging others.
Acknowledging others. Very good. Anything else? Social etiquettes. Like, saying please, thank you. And somebody, you want to interrupt, you can say, excuse me, pardon me, right? So as somebody said, greetings is also important, right? You can't say, hi, my name is Divya. It's not polite. So you're being really rude. So how well can you greet somebody politely? How well can you introduce yourself? If you're interrupting somebody also, how politely can you interrupt? Right? Say suppose in case the child is sliding down, taking turns and waiting patiently is also respecting their friends. So respect for oneself and respect for others also comes in our courtesy. When teacher is talking, the children should listen to us. Or if somebody else is talking, they have to listen. So listening when others are speaking is also like giving respect for others, which comes again under courtesy. Respecting again the personal
Behavior.
spaces, right? And
Behavior.
behaving in a particular social circumstance is very, very important. Behavior is very, very important. Now, is it a positive behavior or a negative behavior? Positive behavior, correct? So all these are somewhere, it is going to help for our students. So under grace and courtesy, please note down, we will have many other points. One is on etiquette. What is etiquette? Social etiquette. How do I say hello, greeting, saying please, can I please take it? Thank you for giving me. Excuse me. All these will come under my social etiquettes. Greeting somebody politely. Okay, uh, learning to say excuse me without interrupting. So that's one. Second thing, respect for others. Okay, so waiting patiently, right down. So respecting others will also come under grace and courtesy. Listening when others are speaking. Third thing is respecting the environment. Okay, you can't throw objects. You have to handle materials very gently. Once the child uses the objects, they have to put them back in their place. Tidying the classroom or tidying the place. Walking carefully when certain objects are placed. Again, that's under grace and courtesy. So you are not going to disturb others' work when you're walking. This is one of the main disciplinary thing that we have to teach in our Montessori classes. When you spread a mat, that means the child is working in that space. So they have to give respect to the mat and the objects that are placed on the mat. So they cannot stamp on it. They have to go around that very gently. Okay. The next one, in grace and courtesy, if there are any problems, they always fight, right? So conflict resolution, how well that they can solve their problems. So children cannot have aggression or anger issues over here. They have to be very kind to keep all their feelings. They have to apologize if they have done any mistake. They have to be forgiving others also. So conflict resolution also comes under grace and courtesy. And at last, we can also use practical skills like, serving food, sharing with others, using the classroom.
Offering help.
Yes,
Offering
that is
offering help.
offering help. Definitely, yes. Offering help, serving food, sharing, holding the door when somebody is
Thank you.
actually walking in. Okay, using the utensils rightly, using the napkins, cleaning the dishes after they have completed eating or drinking. All that will come under my practical life skill. So why should I be teaching all of this is the next question. Should we be teaching all this to our children? Uh-huh. Yes or no? We should teach, right?
Yes,
Very important one. We
yes,
have to
ma'am.
teach. Correct? And the
Yeah.
last one in our EPL is our control of movement. Now, when we are talking about control of movement, this is one of the core component, I could say, very, very important. Because when you're working with young children, you cannot restrict them to sit at one place. They will be moving around. Agree? They are moving around. So that means they know what is the purpose of their movement. If they don't know the purpose of the movement, it becomes very chaotic. The child keeps running around. We don't want such kind of a movement, but we want a very structured, aware movement which is helping them to perform their day-to-day activities in a very structured way. So the child should know to coordinate between their actions so that their physical, cognitive, and emotional development is getting better and better. What are control of movements? Writing also is control of movement only. Correct? Fine motor skills. When they're pouring water from one cup to another, they can't just pour like this. So there is a lot of control of movement here with a very fine movement. Those all will come under control of movement. Gross motor skills, running, balancing, carrying objects without dropping them. It comes on that.
Walking on the line.
Walking on the line. So there is a lot of body awareness. The child should be aware about what he is doing. If there is no body awareness, if the child is not being mindful of what the child is doing, it becomes very difficult for people who are around him. He might stamp on them. Correct? When he is carrying an object, he might drop something. It is like, there could be a minor or a major accident also which can actually happen. the child should be very, very mindful. So whenever you are introducing any exercises related to carrying objects, you should also talk about the safety also. If it is too heavy, we don't allow the child to carry. Somebody can actually help them. If it is any pouring activity, you teach them the skill of how to pour. Always use the child-sized real objects so that, the child will also avoid any spills or accidents in such cases. Agree, guys? So these are the basic requirements that you have to be taking care. So who is responsible to do all these exercises in our EPL? It is you, wonderful teachers. You are the one who are going to prepare the environment for the child so that the child is able to do all these exercises. Okay? How are you going to give exercises? How are you going to give instructions? What is the philosophy? Why we have to do all these exercises? This is what we are going to see for each of them in an individual exercise. So each one of you might get 1 or 2 exercises, which you have to do it in your practical exams also. Okay. So let's quickly do a summary of all of that. What was the first one? Preliminary exercises. So we have listed all the basic exercises. Preliminary means anything that is very basic. What are the basic exercises we do? Can somebody list? What are the basic exercises you do?
Carrying a mat.
Carrying,
Carrying a mat.
carrying a
Rolling
mat,
and rolling mat.
rolling a mat,
Rolling and unrolling mat.
unrolling a mat. For all the students like Raghavi and all of them, why everybody is taking up carrying a mat is in Montessori area, they sit down. So we don't encourage them to sit on the floor. So they have to sit on the mat. If they have to sit on the mat, they have to go to the corner. They have to first carry the mat. Then they will unroll the mat. They will sit on the mat. After the work is completed, they will roll the mat. Again, they will place it back. So this becomes the basic movement for all of them. Now say suppose if you are sitting and standing, if you're using a chair to sit down, again carrying a chair, sitting on the chair, standing on a chair, keeping back the chair becomes also preliminary exercise. Agree? Next, if I have to carry something, do I carry it like this? No. So what I have to do,
No,
I have
ma'am.
to either take a basket or I will take a tray.
Yeah.
I will collect objects, whatever I need. Then I will carry from one place to another. So you have to also teach the children how to carry a tray, how to balance the tray and keep it. That also becomes my preliminary exercise. Now, when I have to pour water from one glass to another, first I will fill water in the jug. So I should also teach the child how to carry an empty jug, then a half-filled jug, then a full-filled jug. Then slowly, how do I transfer it? All this again is my preliminary exercise. Do you use scissors in your classes? How do you teach children how to cut the paper using the scissor? Again, that requires fine movements. So carrying sharper objects like knives, pins, scissors, that is also important. So we will have such simple preliminary exercises to cover in our exercises. So I have listed few of them, like it could be walking, standing, sitting, getting up from the floor, sitting down, again getting up from the chair, carrying a chair, carrying a table, carrying trays, boxes, buckets, baskets, filling a jug, emptying a jug, opening and closing drawers, opening and closing the door. All those could be my preliminary exercises. Okay. The second one is you have to care for somebody else. You have to care, before caring for somebody else, you will have to care for yourself. So you should know that you are doing amazing, right? This is also important that teachers would teach them how to care for themselves. How do you care for yourselves? As soon as you wake up, you brush your teeth, you take a bath, you finish all your important tasks of your day, then you groom yourself, you wear clean clothes, correct? And then you smell good, you apply certain deodorant and other thing, and then you come back to the classes. So that is how you are caring for yourself. What can the child do? The child can also similarly carry out certain exercises in their day-to-day so that the child is able to care for himself. So we will cover this part also. Okay. Now, in a child's life, what could be there for caring? Personal hygiene. We teach about how to wash our hands. Okay. So we're going to demonstrate by keeping a hand washing station, and we would give them the liquid soap and the solid soap along with water, and the child is going to learn how to wash their hands. Every child knows about it, but as a routine, as a lesson plan, you have to start with your hand washing. And you can always start with a rhyme. What kind of a rhyme? You can always say, children, we're going to wash our hands. We can say tops and bottoms, in between, in between. Rub them, rub them, rub them, rub them, rub them, rub them till it's clean, squeaky clean. Okay, so any kind of a hand wash song you can actually sing for our children. This is the basic information that we have started with for our today's session. Okay, so we would be taking a look at the other areas of aspects. Apart from this, do you have any other things to actually work on? Like we have seen the 5 important areas, correct? The next important thing for us is like the preparation. Whatever the activities the teacher is going to do, you have to prepare the child. Can you see a slide there? There are many trays and other things. It looks so interesting. So if there are 4 children in your class, 4 trays has to be set. Not that same activity every 4 will get. No. 4 different activities for 4 different children. If you have 20 children, 20 activities. So when there is an EPL period, all the 20 children can do different exercises. You getting me? They can do a different one. The teacher can go, she can guide. Or what you can do, you can put them into smaller groups. Like every 4 children can get one material and they can start practicing using that particular skill. So we're going to see. So preparation is very, very important. This is what we're going to be working. What are we doing? Individualized instructions are must. You go to every child, you're showing the tray, you're showing the material, you're going to tell children how they're actually working on, what they are working on. So this is what Dr. Montessori also says. It has to be one-to-one when you're trying to introduce a new concepts. And practical life has to be self-directed learning. These are the terms you have to use, okay? That means the child should go and the child should pick up the tray and start learning. So it is self-directed learning. Okay, when there is a toy, you don't have to ask for the child also, right? So this is a toy. The child will be driven to play with that particular toy. Now, how does our classroom look? The classroom might look like this. Okay, you can keep some plants. The child can go see there, water the plants, clean the plant, take care of the plant, keep it in sunlight for some time, get it back. See here, the child is becoming very naturalist. The child is having love towards plants. In case if there are pets at your school, you can also teach them how to take care of the pets. Or if they have pets at home, you can also teach the children to take care of how to work on this. So every time that the child engages in these self-directed learnings, you will see the child is going to have an amazing role in their own learning. Okay, this is what is a typical Montessori classroom, which looks like. Now, whatever exercises that I was talking about, the preparation becomes the very important skill. Why should your tables, sorry, not the table, the shelves look like this? Now, the first thing is like, you know what are the exercises. Now, you have to arrange everything in shelves. Now, it has to be an open material that you're going to be setting it. So, when the child is looking at that, each child can go to that shelf, they pick a material, they unroll a mat, they place it on the mat, they start working with that. So, what happened here? A lot of independence is given to the child. Agree or not? Montessori works on independence. Now, is it a full independence, full freedom? No. There will be freedom with restriction. The teacher will tell you can pick only these, or you can have to pick only from this shelves, or we're doing only EPL for the first time, unless and until they don't have the complete experience. Once they pick, they are sitting and using, you will see a lot of concentration. The child is also coordinating with their exercises. And see, everything is orderly placed. So there is a sense of order at which you will begin giving exercises to the child. As we mentioned, we go in order. We start with preliminary exercises, then care of a person, care of the environment, grace and courtesy, and at last, coordination and movement. This slide is very important. Okay, these are the 5 different exercises that you will be doing in your EPL. Even in your dream, when I say what are the 5 areas of EPL, you should quickly give me these. Ma'am, it's preliminary, it's caring a person, caring of the environment, being graceful, being courteous, and moving in the class. Coordination and movement. These are very important for us to actually work with. Okay, these are the 5 areas. What are the 5 areas of Montessori? EPL, sensorial, language, math, cultural. Out of the EPL, the first one of the EPL, we have 5 more subdivisions. That's my preliminary exercise, caring of a person, caring of the environment, grace and courtesy, coordination of movement. Okay, so this is what it is going to be there. Okay, is everybody clear? So we saw the first 2 there, preliminary exercises we saw, caring of environment we saw. What is caring of oneself? You're going to take care of yourself. So you need to dress yourself. You need to know how to undress. Very important. So you can teach children to pull their trousers up and pull down their trousers. Very important. Washroom etiquette, you can actually teach them. So under any emergency, the child knows to take off their clothes and finish off, peeing or pooping, and then they can wash their hands and they can come back. So teacher's responsibility and the parents' responsibility is first to teach them this. Only then the child will be able to get a good personal hygiene etiquette. So brushing teeth, combing their hair, all these are self-grooming exercises. Caring of environment, sweeping, mopping, dusting. Very important. Grace and courtesy, being nice to others, serving food, waiting, taking turns. Correct? Then control of movement is another one that we're going to be working on. So this covers for all of us to actually work. Now, if you see, this is how your first stage of trays to be sorted. At least to begin with, you need to have 15 trays as such. Is everybody able to see the trays? You have to set at least like 10 to 15 trays and keep the right tools to transfer. If you see here, I'm only working on transferring exercise. The child will have to transfer something from one bowl to another. But look at the number of different things that I have given. So I can take through a spoon. I can transfer through a dropper. I can transfer through a ladle. I can transfer through a mug. I can transfer through a filter. I can transfer through an injection syringe, right? So how you're taking can be a different tool. But my intention is take that material and transfer it into another bowl or a mug. So transfer becomes my activity here. Transferring activity, but the tools can all be different. The containers can be different. Objects can be different based on their sizes, colors, shapes. Those objects will take up their places. So this is what we can also be teaching in our classes. Gardening comes again in our EPL exercise. This is where the child becomes more responsible and he becomes naturalist. At last, grace and courtesy and practical exercises will not end without a circle time. So this becomes our introductory part of our EPL. Clear, all of us? Yes. So let's quickly end this session, first part of it, and rejoin again in another 30 seconds. Okay. So I'm cutting the call. Please rejoin with the same link for the next part of our today's lesson. Thank you, guys.